And welcome aboard, everyone. Steve Malzberg with you. And joining me right now is Bill Kristol, editor-at-large of the Weekly Standard, ABC News contributor. Hello, Bill.
Hey, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing well. So the whole healthcare disaster is just that. First of all, not enough votes to get the bill passed in the Senate. Then McConnell floats the idea of just repeal without replace. Not enough votes today, we find out, for that. Donald Trump today says, okay, let's just let it die on its own. Is that enough? Is that going to work? Is that a reasonable alternative? And who do you blame for all of this and where we are right now?
Well, there's plenty of blame to go around. They were all willing to take credit when it looked good. You know, Donald Trump had that huge ceremony in the Rose Garden with the House Republicans. Usually you do that when a piece of legislation gets signed. He did it when it passed the House. So he was happy to embrace it when it was a success. A little hard for him to totally walk away from it when it fails in the Senate. I think the whole idea of beginning with health care was a mistake. I think people greatly overestimated how powerful you are when you have only 52 senators. That's a tight margin to work with. McConnell had conflicting views among some of his senators. But again, they probably should have gotten expectations down. And why McConnell said last night, I really don't understand. Well, let's just go repeal without replace. That was never going to pass, and now it makes him look a little weaker. I would say if you like the Trump legislative agenda, the main worry has to be in legislation in Congress as in life. Once you lose once, it's kind of easier to lose a second time. Once people look up and say, it'll embolden the Democrats and Republicans who have their own views, who are dissidents, who don't, who might have different views from the leadership on tax policy or infrastructure or other things, are going to think, geez, I don't know, having Trump and McConnell and Ryan for something doesn't automatically mean we have to go along. So I think it's a moment of some peril for the Republican Congress and to some degree for the Trump presidency.
And do you go along with Newt Gingrich? And I agree with this, too, that if they don't get significant tax reform, he says in the form of a large tax cut, but nonetheless, however, that we could have a Speaker Pelosi back after the 2018 midterms?
Yeah, I think the House is at risk. If you look at the numbers, President Trump's popularity is hovering around 40. That's risky, I'd say, for the incumbent party in the House. If your incumbent president of your party is around there, they need some legislative accomplishments. They've had a pretty good economy so far. If that continues, that'll help. But, of course, that can always slow down. Yeah, I would put a pretty high premium on passing some kind of pretty serious tax cuts or at least individual tax bills. I think, again, they wrapped themselves around the axle a little with this notion, and you hinted at this in your comment in question, that they need massive mega tax reform. Maybe just do 3 things or 5 things that make sense, that will get the economy going a little faster. It will cut some taxes on wages, so it helps middle-income, working-class people. Cut the corporate tax, cut the payroll tax a bit. Fiddle with some other things, simplify a little, but you don't have to kill yourself here. You need to just do some sensible things that would give people the sense that, you know what, it's not such a bad thing to have a Republican president and a Republican Congress.
All right, let's move on to the testimony about this whole Russian meeting. 8 people now at the meeting, and the all clear was given apparently today by Mueller to have Manafort and Donald Trump Jr. testify in open session to the committee. Where do you think this all leads? And I read a tweet of yours that, to me, I took it to kind of mean that, is there a possibility that now that we know the whole, or we think we know the whole cast of characters that were at that meeting, that Trump and or Putin or both might have known about the meeting?
Well, they could have. I was just struck that this Russian businessman, was pretty close to Putin, and of course his son and son-in-law are pretty close to Trump. They could have told them. Now, if there's nothing wrong with the meeting, there's nothing wrong with telling people about the meeting. And so the key is what actually happened at the meeting. Obviously, what was discussed, and then what people testified about it later, and whether it's part of a broader pattern of collusion or attempted collusion or not. So I guess my main point has always been on this, that Mueller will find out a lot, and he'll find out a lot, and we'll know a lot more. And if he's giving people the all clear to testify, that may suggest he's already questioned them himself, feels like he knows enough. They're not going to ruin any other sources. Maybe it's a good sign that there's nothing much there. Maybe it's a sign that Mueller's already got these guys, sworn testimony in ways that he thinks could be incriminating or not. I just think we really don't know, and I think everyone's too quick to jump to conclusions one way or the other.
What about this this story today about bringing up Bill Clinton's $500,000 speech in Russia in 2010? That was at the same time that Secretary of State Hillary Clinton came down on the side of the Russians against sanctions over human rights issues.
Well, I think we all complained many times about the Clinton Foundation and about Bill Clinton's speeches and about the possible conflicts of interest and, possible bending of policy in that instance and in other instances. I don't know the details of exactly, what Hillary Clinton did or didn't do on sanctions at that time, but, I'm no defender of Hillary Clinton and of the Clintons' ethics in government.
Okay, and let me ask you one more thing. I mean, this is a story that Jeffrey Lord wrote about at American Spectator last week, the end of last week. He found an interview I did with Dick Morris last September. I mean, and the excuse on CNN from Anderson Cooper was, Dick Morris, that's your source? I want the Republicans to bring Dick Morris, put him under oath, and let him say, if he's going to repeat what he told me, yes, Bill Clinton ran Boris Yeltsin's re-election campaign on the phone with him, telling him what commercials to run. Dick Morris, had a pollster in Russia helping him out. I mean, you talk about interfering with elections. It puts to shame anything that Trump is accused of doing. So am I out of line or way in fantasy world to say, hey, Republicans, get Morris, let him testify to this and get it on the record?
Well, it wasn't a big secret that I think we wanted Yeltsin to win in 1996, and it probably wasn't a big secret that Putin wanted Trump to win in 2016. I don't think it proves anything much one way or the other. The question is whether there was improper collusion as opposed to just rooting for someone else or sending over a political consultant who could help you.
But speaking to him on the phone and picking commercials and telling him what to say, those are the words from Morris describing what Bill Clinton did. Yeah, that is.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that?
I don't know. I mean, it seems like it's worse than what Trump is accused of.
I don't think. I think Putin. I think you're going down a very bad path here. It's total moral equivalence. If there's one thing conservatives have done over the years, is not make it equivalent when a democratic nation, when the U.S. gives advice to friends in a democratic election, or when a non-democratic nation interferes, hacks, steals emails. Did we steal emails in Russia and make them public?
Not that I know of.
So let's not be so quick to make an equivalence between the behavior of the Russians and our own behavior.
All right, but it just, to me, speaks to the larger picture of trying to influence elections. It also speaks to Barack Obama sending over American taxpayer money to an Israeli group to try to, undermine Benjamin Netanyahu. Again, it's not.
Well, we denounced that. We denounced that at the time to the degree.
Yeah, I know that. But I mean, the media doesn't bring it up anymore. It's as if it didn't, never existed. If you want to talk about them. What about this Susan Rice testimony that was postponed, and now we find out, or we hear in a report that beyond Susan Rice and John Brennan and Samantha Power, that we might have a half a dozen more former Obama administration officials involved in the unmasking probe. You think that has legs?
Again, so much depends on what really was done, and I'm happy to have Congress investigate it, and I think they should. They should do so in an orderly way and let people testify under oath, and let's see who was unmasked and how widely whether it was legitimate or not, and so forth. I just think the kind of, they did it too argument is going to have limited effect. At the end of the day, they may well have done things wrong, but they're not in office anymore. If they did something criminal, they should be prosecuted. It reminds me so much of Nixon when, the Kennedys did bad things when they were president and attorney general. Lyndon Johnson, bugging Martin Luther King, all kinds of terrible stuff. At the end of the day, if the president is involved in stuff he shouldn't have been involved in, I'm afraid Mueller's going to find out, and that will be bad for the president. If he wasn't involved in anything criminal or impeachable, Mueller will report that. So I think a lot of this other stuff is maybe politically kind of useful, tit-for-tat stuff, but I think at the end of the day, we're going to find out what Trump did and didn't do, and then people will have to make a judgment.
All right, two more. These are interesting, as if the others weren't. Do you put any stock in, does this matter at all to you, that according to a Bloomberg poll approval rating, Hillary has a 39% approval rating, even though she's not in politics anymore, theoretically, and Trump has 2 points better at 41. Is that significant at all to you?
I think it suggests that, she was a terrible candidate and people are happy she's not president. Again, she's not going to be the candidate in 2020, and you could try to wrap her around the Democrats' neck a little bit in 2018 and 2020, but they'll presumably have some fresh faces. But no, look, the Democrats have a big, big problem. They have no agenda. They don't have many obvious fresh faces. and to the degree that it ends up being a very shrill, socialist like Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren, kind of quasi-socialist, that's not good for the Democratic Party. I really do think that if Nancy Pelosi is a very bad. The thing that might keep the House Republican in 2018 is if voters in swing districts, I think we saw this in Georgia 6 in that special election, Steve, if voters in swing districts think, geez, if I make the Democrats, if I help put the Democrats in charge of the House, we get Nancy Pelosi back, that's not good for the Democrats. No, it's not good for the Democrats. And I want to ask you about Caitlyn Jenner, who's considering a run at the U.S. Senate. And along the lines of the Democratic candidate, all this talk about the senator from California, Harris, Kamala Harris. I mean, she's been in the Senate for like 2 days. So to address her as a possible, apparently she had a big fundraiser in the Hamptons. All the Hillary supporters are behind her. And then talk about Jenner. Yeah, no, I mean, this after Barack Obama won after 4 years in the Senate, they've all taken that as the model. Fresh face, new, not a tired career politician. I don't know. He was a skilled politician. He also ran in a year of a financial crisis, and after people were kind of exhausted after 8 years of Bush. So I don't think that's an automatic recipe for victory. But obviously with Obama winning with 4 years in the Senate and then Trump winning with 0 years in elective office, I think people have the sense that voters don't respect, and maybe they're right not to respect, political experience as much as they used to. And obviously it's the celebrity culture, and Jenner thinks she can win just the way, other celebrities. Trump won, I suppose. I'm a little dubious. I think Trump was pretty there are a lot of specific things that went into Donald Trump's victory that I don't think are very transferable to a lot of other celebrities and billionaires. But a lot of people are looking at Trump, obviously, and thinking, hey, if he could do it for president, maybe I could do it for senator or governor. It'll be interesting to see. I think a lot of people will run in the next cycle or two who might not be conventional candidates. I don't know how well they'll do, but I think it'll be a much broad, a lot of people have the idea, why shouldn't I take a shot? Whereas in the old days, it was kind of whose turn is it? Yeah, no, very good point. Bill, great conversation as always. Love talking to you. Thank you, sir. Be well, Steve. All right, you too. Bill Kristol, ladies and gentlemen. And remember, in the interim, till we meet again, check out NewsmaxTV.com and you'll find out all the great stations. We'll put them up right now where you could watch Newsmax TV on DirecTV channel 349, AT&T UVerse channel 1220, and Verizon Fios channel 615. And of course, stay in tune and stay connected at Newsmax.com.